I believe every chess player wants to know what happens in his opponent's mind, what plans he has, what ideas he wants to realize, and of course, what lines he calculates. If only we know the lines that our opponents calculate, we can put all efforts to find how to improve these lines to our favor or just to avoid them and go through the variations and combinations that we want. When I play a game, I always predict my opponent to play this or that move, and the move I expect usually is played on the board. It's very rare when I blunder. Of course, I don't blunder pawns or pieces, but sometimes, usually 2 or 3 times in a game, I don't predict the move that my opponent plays. If it's a weak move, it's okay, but I'm talking about strong moves that you or me don't see, but your opponent sees and plays. However, 2-3 moves blunders per game won't cost you a game. That's why my results are quite good. Do you want to learn how to read your opponent and predict his future moves in the game? Watch this video and I'll teach you what to expect from your opponent in a chess game. Okay, this is FIDE Master Viktor Neustroyev and how to read your opponent in chess and gain an advantage. There are 2 ways or 2 approaches to how to predict your opponent's next move. The most common is to try to understand the logic behind the moves and make a forecast that may happen then. We can call it a traditional approach. The second approach is a psychological approach, when you feel your opponent and understand his reaction and even his style of playing chess. Now, traditional approach. Of course, sometimes there is no logic behind your opponent's moves, but some other times your lack of knowledge doesn't afford you to understand his moves or see the whole combination. However, every time your opponent plays a move, ask yourself, what is the idea behind this move? What is my opponent threatening with his last chess move or with a series of his last moves? Chess is a game which involves opposition. Due to the fact that you are not the only one who is making plans to win the game, it is likely that your opponent wants to trick you, or that he sets traps for you. In order to become better at chess, it is essential not only to focus on your own plans, but also watch out what your opponent's plans and threats are. I'll show you an example. For example, this is my game played on chess.com recently. I'm black d4, d5, c4, c6, knight c3, knight f6, knight f3, d takes c4. So I play Slav defense. a4, bishop f5, knight e5. It's not the main move in this position, this is the second popular move. And the idea of this move is to play f3, e4. Here I play knight d7. If here he takes on d7, he loses another tempo. That's why he plays knight c4, e6. Here his plan is to play f3 and e4, but first he decides to play bishop g5. I didn't really expect this move, but this move can be hardly called a strong move. Just an ordinary move and maybe not as the best. Definitely not the best, because f3, e4 is the best option. Bishop e7, f3 now. So he wants to play e4 on the next move, that's why I play bishop g6. But then he plays queen d2, not e4. Why? I know why. So I expected him to play these 2 moves, e4. But if he doesn't play e4, then queen d2. So what did he expect? Here I could apply this tactical strike. What's the idea? So if f captures on e4, I just take on g5 and gain a piece back, getting 1 extra pawn. However, in this position, instead of taking the knight, he may capture my bishop on e7. But then I play knight c3, attacking the queen, bishop d8, knight takes d1, and in this position probably he was thinking about this move, and then I can capture on d8 with my king and I will be 1 pawn up. I think this is what he was afraid of. However, he didn't notice bishop h4 move, after which I can't really escape with my knight and it's trapped. If I try to do something like b5 to be able to escape to e3 or b2, after I chase the knight, first he takes, then gives a check, and finally he gains a piece by taking my knight. Of course, if he played f4 here, I wouldn't capture, but probably he didn't notice bishop h4. That's why he decided not to get into this complicated position and play queen d2 first. But this move is a kind of inaccuracy. I play h6. So what's the idea? So if, for example, I castle here, he plays e4, and then this move won't work because knight takes e4, and this bishop on g5 is protected twice. So here I first have to take with my bishop, but then he takes on e7 first and gains a piece. Okay, so queen d2 was played. Here I play h6. Bishop goes to h4. Now e4 won't work, because then I take and the bishop on h4 is hanging. It's not protected with anything. That's why he thinks about, now it's my turn to move, I castle, and now he thinks about how to move the bishop away, because after e4, this is his plan, I'll just capture on e4. And after bishop e7 in this position, I'll capture the queen. He captures my queen, but then my knight is not on d1, I just take here. He probably plays this move, I do this, and I am one pawn up. That's why he needs to play with this bishop. And here, after I castle, I predicted him to play bishop f2. Because if he does this move, it's not doing really much. I can play bishop b4 and then queen e7, so I am able to control the d6 square, and he may experience some problems with the pin. The knight on c3 is pinned. That's why he played bishop f2. I open the position because I'm developed better. So here, if he takes, I take with my bishop, then with my knight. The position is really good. Definitely in my favor. That's why here I expected him to play d5. He doesn't want to open the position while he's not developed. I take, he takes, then this is a forced line and knight b6. In this position I expected him to trade the queens first and then to take on b6. Then the pawn on e4 is a weakness, my bishops are much more active, so here I have the advantage. He may play e4, but then f5, try to attack this central pawn, or maybe just f6, bishop f7. Anyway, I'm better. Not much, but slightly better. However, here he surprised me one more time. He took on b6, and I capture with my queen. Now his queen is the object of the attack. He plays queen d2 to protect the b2 pawn. After this move, the only option is queen c1. And in this position, bishop f6 could be a good move. However, I decided not to calculate this complicated line with bishop c5. Here I can even sacrifice the bishop, so I decided not to go into all these complications. I just played queen b4 check first in this position. He has to block with the queen and then just bishop f6, forcing a queen's trade. And he loses the pawn on b2. After that, I get a passed pawn. So here, I predicted almost every move. The only exclusions were bishop g5, which is not a strong move at all. So here I thought either e4 or queen d2. Queen d2 was played. In this position, after castle, bishop f2, which is not an ordinary move, but is likely to be played in this position because he needs to play with his bishop. So this is how I use the traditional approach. And of course, after c5, I expected him to play d5 because he doesn't want to open the position. He plays logical. If you can't answer the question what your opponent's plan is, then ask yourself, what would I do if I were him, or if I were playing this position for the opposite side? The answer will be more clear. The more you play and the more you use this technique, the better you will get at it. And now, psychological approach. The second approach, when your task is to understand or to feel your opponent's style of playing chess. Of course, it's difficult, but sometimes it can bring you even more benefits. I'll show you an example to make it clear. This is the game I played in Corsica against Radostoinescu. I was playing with black pieces. e4, c5, knight f3, e6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, a6, Khan variation of Sicilian defense, knight c3, queen c7, g3. This time I know that bishop b4 is the best move. Then I just play knight c6, trade the knight, capture with my d-pawn, and later play e5. And white at least equalizes the position. But that time I didn't know that, and I played b5, threatening with the idea to play b4. And here my opponent thought for a while and played a3. So probably he was scared to play against me because I was a high-rated player. He just played this move to prevent b4. So now I understood his style, so he wants to play defensively. And he won't get into complicated positions or even sharp positions against such player like me. Probably he analyzed some of my games and realized that I'm good in tactics and calculations. Okay, so here he plays, he'd better, instead of a3, he'd better play bishop g2, and then his position can become really good. For example, if so, he can even play knight d5 with the strong attack. This is how he opens the e-file and gains a piece back. However, a3 was played. Bishop b7, bishop g2, knight f6, he castles, knight c6. Here again, instead of taking on c6, what looks natural, he plays another defensive move to keep more pieces on the board. Knight b3, bishop e7, f4. If I were playing against a strong grandmaster or an international master, I would play d6 and just equalize the position. But I knew that my opponent is afraid of my aggressive moves. That's why here I decided to play h5. I expected him to play h3. So of course h3 is not the best move. At least he could play queen e2, then I play knight g4, he just played king h1. And after queen b6, I'm not threatening with anything, he can just continue with bishop d2. h4 is not a threat, while this knight on g4 is hanging. And he could just continue playing this position, then maybe rook a to e1 and so on. But after I played h5, he played h3. With the idea that if I play h4, he can play g4. So that was a kind of a defensive move. I gave a check with my queen, king h1 and knight g4. So here he can't capture, because if he does this, then at least I gain a piece back. Maybe I can also checkmate after that. He plays queen e2 now, knight d4, knight takes d4, queen d4, bishop f3, threatening to take on g4. But again, I played queen b6, I expected him not to take on g4, it's too risky. That's why I thought he would avoid it. And this is what exactly happened. First he plays king g2 move. Knight h6 now. Now I wanted him to capture the pawn on h5. This is a move that I really wanted him to play, but if he does this, I can play knight f5 and use the pin of the e4 pawn. However, he played a bishop e3 first in this position. Bishop c5, trade on c5, and now rook a d1. So here I castled to be able to start a kingside attack. But of course, white position is better. At least he could just play this move, rook d3, with two ideas: to double and to get the rook to the third rank. I actually didn't see rook d3 move. I expected him to play rook d2 with the idea just to double. But here he played not according to his style. He surprised me and captured the pawn on h5, allowing me to play knight f5. Now I'm threatening with knight e3.
Again, here at least rook d3 could save the position, then knight g3, rook g3, queen h5, no, not rook h5, but queen h5, queen h5, rook h5, rook g7, and f5. The position is equal. It looks like I gain a pawn on e4, and then I have a strong bishop. So here he played bishop f3 back and just blundered it, this fork on e3, or maybe he saw this move. Then king h2. What do you think how I played then? I sacrificed the rook on h3, because if here he takes, then rook h8 leads to a checkmate. Like that. If he doesn't take but plays king g1, then I can capture everything with a discovered attack. For example, like that. And if here he captures with the king, then rook g1 is a checkmate. This is what could happen in the game, but actually he resigned after rook h3 in this position. So you see, several times I expected him to play a very defensive move. So he demonstrated it with his a3 move, and then I expected him to play defensively. After knight c6, knight b3 looks more defensive than to take. And here after h5 I expected him to play h3, again not the best move, preventing me from playing knight g4, but actually not, and the move is not really doing much. And finally here he could capture on g4, but he didn't. Maybe he was afraid of. But when he struggled with the next move, he decided to capture and just blunder it and lost the game.
In this video you learned how to read your opponent and predict his future moves. Thank you for watching it, and make sure you to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel and share it with your friends, chess players. Now I want you to play a few games online, but every time you make a move, ask yourself what you expect your opponent to play after this move. After the game, make the analysis and calculate how many times your opponent played a strong move that you didn't notice. Please share your games and the analysis into the comment section below this video. Keep playing with the same approach, and in a few weeks you'll realize that the number of such moves blunders decreases. You know, to decrease the number of blunders and improve your ability to calculate the lines properly, you should be able to visualize the position even after 7 to 10 moves. That's why I highly recommend you to watch a short video on the screen next about chess visualization. Okay, enjoy my ultimate guide to improve your chess visualization, and I'll see you there in a moment.